Discover how one woman's incredible fluent Arabic transformed a furious billionaire's life forever. Sarah stood behind the counter of Café Pilsen, the vibrant melodies of salsa intertwining with the aroma of fresh coffee brewing. The early morning bustle echoed in the air as patrons caught up on the latest neighborhood gossip. She smiled, serving each customer with warmth, determination shining in her eyes. Juggling her shifts at the cafe, the responsibilities of caring for her strong-willed single mother, and her dreams of becoming a community advocate, Sarah lived in a delicate balance of hope and hardship. But today felt different. As the door swung open, a gust of frustration rushed in, accompanied by a figure who seemed to cast a shadow over the cheerful cafe. It was Amir, the billionaire notorious for his brusque demeanor. He stomped in, red-faced, the kind of anger that made chairs around him feel like cowering spectators. He was in a tizzy over a costly mistake that threatened his reputation, his voice booming in a language that sounded as harsh as his expression. Sarah was taken aback, her heart racing. Suddenly, words she hadn't spoken in years rushed to the forefront of her mind. In a moment that shocked even her, she replied in fluent Arabic. The air hung thick with surprise, her voice infused with a confidence she rarely wielded. Amir's eyes widened with disbelief, his tirade momentarily silenced. A crack in his hardened exterior appeared, and for the first time, she saw vulnerability mingled with his anger. "I didn't expect that." He blinked, his voice subdued. Sarah felt the tension ease ever so slightly, her timid nature giving way to a flicker of courage. The exchange shifted gears. They were no longer separated by vast social divides. In the weeks that followed, their awkward interactions blossomed into unexpected conversations. Amir would come into the cafe, ordering his coffee with a little less bluster, often hanging around to watch the life that thrived in the bustling space. Sarah, in turn, found herself sharing stories, her struggles, her ambitions, the relentless love that drove her to uplift her family. Each encounter revealed the meaningful layers beneath their contrasting lives, his world of wealth and responsibility versus her world of tenacity and hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Then came the day a series of Amir's ambitious business changes threatened the very heart of her cafe. The news hit Sarah like a punch to the gut, her family's livelihood in jeopardy because of decisions made far above her reach. The room filled with a chilling silence as reality set in. She had built her life around this space, a cornerstone of her family. Unlike Amir's fleeting company interests, when they met face to face, the simmering tension ignited. Words spilled from Sarah, fierce and passionate challenges to his privilege and the weight of his decisions. In that moment, she was strong and vulnerable, yearning for him to see, really see, the impact of his choices. "Why don't you understand?" she cried, emotion flooding the air between them. "Your decisions have real consequences." The moment hung heavy, raw emotion radiating between them. Did Amir have it in him to be a force for good, to truly grasp his power? Or would Sarah's stand for her family cost her everything? Their relationship teetered on a knife edge, leaving Sarah breathless as both of their worlds flickered in uncertainty. Who would step up in the face of truth? Amir's expression shifted, the anger that had once clouded his face giving way to something deeper, a hint of curiosity, maybe even guilt. He stood there, the weight of Sarah's plea hanging between them, and for the first time, he seemed unsure. The bustling cafe around them faded, the familiar sounds of plates clattering and voices rising barely registering in his mind. "Sarah," he started, his voice quieter than before. "I never meant to mean to what?" She interjected, her voice sharper than intended. "To ruin lives? To throw away what people have worked so hard to build?" Her heart raced as she spoke, feeling a surge of strength protecting everything she had fought for. There was an urgency in her words that urged Amir to respond. She could see a flicker in his eyes, the resignation of a man who often felt untouchable yet now stood confronted by the undeniable truth of her struggle. I come here every day, Amir, she said softly. I watch families gather, friends reconnect, dreams take root. This cafe is more than just a business to me, it's my home, my legacy. The emotion in her voice rose like a tide. He took a step closer, his tall frame almost overwhelming in the small cafe space. What if I could find a way to fix this? The question hung there, fragile, yet full of possibility. What does that even mean? She challenged. You can't just wave a magic wand and make it right. You need to take responsibility. Amir's brow furrowed, and for a moment, she wasn't sure if he would reject her challenge outright or embrace it. She saw the conflict playing out behind his eyes, grappling with the revelation that power doesn't always equate to control. Sometimes it means making choices that put others first. Their standoff lasted seconds, but in that charged silence, Sarah felt something shift. It was more than just tension or anger, it was a connection forming, the potential for understanding. The deeper emotions tied to their lives began to weave together, something neither could ignore. Okay, he finally said, his voice steadier. Let me talk to my team. I'll see what I can do. But it's more complicated than you think. I know it is. She wasn't ready to soften completely, but uncertainty mingled with a hint of gratitude as she wrestled with hope. I want to believe you, but actions speak louder than words. His nod felt almost like a promise, a crack formed in his masked persona. The raw honesty in the air seemed to cling to them both, drawing out shared vulnerabilities. Just then, the cafe door swung open again, and an elderly woman squeezed through, her arms laden with fresh flowers. The bright colors scattered across the floor, but her gentle smile instantly brightened the mood. The atmosphere shifted, wrapping around the two of them, reminding Sarah of warmth and kindness. Days passed, and in the midst of her daily grind, the thought of Amir lingered. She would catch glimpses of his seriousness during their conversations, but each time he returned, there was a slightly different Amir, someone willing to show more of himself. Then came the call that nearly knocked the wind out of her. Amir's assistant, a calm and collected woman named Layla, called Sarah from the other side of town. Amir needs your help, put the cafe on the agenda for his next meeting. Sarah's stomach dropped. This was it, the moment she had longed for. But now everything felt so much heavier. Fear and excitement waged war within her. What exactly would this meeting entail? What if things went terribly wrong? As the day approached, she channeled every ounce of belief she had in herself and her cafe. This wasn't just about saving her livelihood, it was about standing up against a world that often overlooked voices like hers. Could she do it? Could she transform that opportunity into something greater? With everything now hanging in the balance, she took a deep breath and prepared herself. The cards were laid out before them, and Sarah trusted that somehow, they both held the power to change the narrative. But as the hour drew closer, a whisper of anxiety crept in. What secrets was Amir hiding? And would his willingness to help come at a cost she wasn't ready to pay? The day of the meeting dawned bright and crisp, the sun spilling its golden light over the city, illuminating Sarah's path. But despite the beauty outside, a storm brewed within her. She stared into the mirror, willing her reflection to exude confidence. You can do this, she whispered to herself, her voice barely breaking through the chaos in her mind. She dressed carefully, choosing a simple yet elegant blouse that reminded her of the colors in her cafe, warm, inviting, just like her vision for the place. When she arrived at the towering office building where Amir worked, her heart thudded loudly in her chest. She stood admiring the architecture, catching her breath for a moment. A place like this felt worlds away from her cafe. Yet here she was, about to step into a reality that could either lift her dreams or crush them deep beneath the weight of corporate indifference. As she approached the reception desk, the receptionist greeted her with a polite smile. Amir is expecting you. Right this way. Sarah followed with shaky steps, the fancy chill of air conditioning contrasting sharply with the warmth of her cafe. Each step echoed her heartbeat, a drumroll of impending action. When the door finally swung open, Amir stood waiting inside, looking every bit the part of a commanding presence. His polished suit contrasted sharply with the casual atmosphere of the cafe, but it only highlighted the dichotomy between their worlds. Sarah, he greeted, his tone a mix of warmth and authority. Thank you for coming. She returned his smile cautiously, her nerves prickling under his steady gaze. I appreciate the invitation. Come in, Amir said, gesturing to a chair. The conference table bore a neatly organized agenda, high-tech devices, and a fountain of fresh flowers that mirrored the ones from the cafe. For a moment, it felt almost surreal. As they settled in, Sarah began to speak, her voice steadying as she described her vision for the cafe. I envision it as a community hub, a space where people from all walks of life can come together. Throughout her presentation, she noticed Amir's focus shift, leaning in slightly, digesting her words. It was a small victory, yet it filled her with renewed strength. Do you believe your cafe can genuinely compete with larger chains? He asked, curiosity weaving through the skepticism. Yes, she replied without hesitation. I believe in the experience we create, in the memories we help to build. Those things can't be replicated. A moment of silence passed as Amir pondered her words. She could sense him reevaluating not just the cafe, but perhaps his own choices in this vast business world. The conversation continued, and Sarah found herself warming to the topic. Amir's questions shifted from business to personal, and they began to bond over shared values, the importance of community, the struggles they both faced. But as the topics grew deeper, an unsettling thought niggled at the edges of her mind. Just how far was Amir willing to go to protect that which he considered valuable? The question loomed, the distance between them narrowing with each shared laugh and revelation. Then, the door opened again, and a group of Amir's colleagues poured in, their chatter cutting through the moment. The shift was jarring, pulling Sarah back to reality. She felt her heart sink, feeling small again, surrounded by the presence of corporate giants. All right, everyone, Amir said, standing tall, commanding attention. We have a special guest today, Sarah, the owner of that cafe we discussed. As they turned to her, she felt exposed, their gazes probing, assessing. What would they think of her idea, her passion? Just when she thought she decomposed herself, Amir dropped a bombshell. I'd like us to consider her proposal seriously in our upcoming relocation project. Gasps filled the room. Sarah's eyes widened. This was more than she ever expected. But as excitement surged, so did fear. She invited Amir here to hear her story, but would his colleagues see her as just another obstacle in their plan? As they unleashed a barrage of questions, doubt crept in. Could she truly stand her ground against the tidal wave of their ambitions? Taking a deep breath, she focused on Amir, the slight nod he gave her holding a world of promise. But the stakes had just risen. Would the collaboration between them create a lifeline or lead to an even greater divide? Sarah was now teetering at the edge of a dream, and she wondered would the reality that unfolded today build her legacy or shatter it entirely. The room buzzed with questions, each voice blending into a cacophony of doubt and ambition. Sarah felt her pulse quicken, a rush of adrenaline mixing with the weight of their expectations. She clenched her fists, reminding herself of the warmth of her cafe, of the laughter and connection it fostered. Those thoughts anchored her even as the world around her felt chaotic. Sarah, can you elaborate on your marketing strategy? A man with sharp glasses asked, his tone critical. Her stomach tightened. She had come to inspire, not to defend. She took a deep breath, glancing at Amir, who wore an encouraging expression. His presence steadied her, infused her with just enough courage to continue. Our marketing utilizes a grassroots approach, she began, her voice gaining strength. We focus on local partnerships, social media, and community events that draw people in. We want them to feel a personal connection to our brand. That's all well and good. But how do you plan on handling the competition? A second voice chimed in, a woman with a notepad that seemed to grow heavier with every word. I believe, Sarah paused, letting the silence settle, that community is built on trust. While larger chains can dominate in quantity, they lack the personal touch that makes a place feel like home. We are there for our customers, through good times and bad. A ripple of murmurs passed among the colleagues, but the initial skepticism hadn't completely dissipated. The questions kept coming, probing deeper into her confidence, her strategy, as if dissecting her very dreams. With every inquiry, Sarah felt the stakes rising. She was no longer just presenting an idea. She was fighting for her vision, her heart. And she could see Amir, visibly engaged, ready to back her up. But just as the dialogue began to shift into a slightly more constructive tone, another colleague interrupted, cutting through the budding camaraderie. So what's the deal, Amir? Are we diving into a partnership with her? A cafe owner? What's next? A cupcake bakery? The laughter that followed felt sharp, like a knife twisting in her gut. For a brief moment, Sarah froze, embarrassed heart racing, every face in the room looking at her as if she were an interloper. The warmth she'd built came crashing down. Actually, Amir said, stepping forward with an assertiveness that silenced the room, Sarah's visions align with the core values we are aiming for. Our focus is community, not just profit margins. If we can implement these ideas thoughtfully, we could build something that lasts beyond numbers on a balance sheet. Sarah watched Amir, her heart swelling with gratitude and admiration. He was championing her cause, her dreams, yet, deep down, a fear gnawed at her. Would he truly commit to this partnership? Or was this merely a fleeting moment of support in a room dominated by skepticism? As the questions began again, probing deeper into the harsh realities of the business world, Sarah felt a surge of determination. She had come too far to let a group of corporate giants dictate her fate. But with every exchange, she couldn't shake the feeling of precariousness. The path ahead was threaded with uncertainty, and alongside her desire to make her cafe a shining beacon, lay the potential of crushing defeat. That as the meeting stretched on, her spirit shifted from an ember of hope to a blazing fire. She could take a stand and present her cafe not just as a business, but as a community lifeline. With Amir's support, she felt emboldened. Then, just as she was about to deliver her resounding point, Amir received a text. A sweeping frown crossed his face. He glanced toward Sarah. The urgency in his eyes was palpable, and it sent a shiver of apprehension through her. What was the message? Did it threaten the very partnership they were building? Sarah's heart raced. In that moment, she realized this ride was only beginning. She had to be ready for whatever came next, but what was Amir hiding? What could derail everything they had worked for just as it was taking flight? The murmurs around the table grew louder, but all Sarah could focus on was the tension radiating from Amir. His expression shifted from engaged to troubled in the blink of an eye, and the uncertainty gnawed at her insides like a restless beast. "Amir, everything all right?" she whispered, her heart pounding as she caught the fearful glance he shot her way. He hesitated, his fingers tapping at his phone with urgency. Then he held up a hand to silence the questions still buzzing. "Everyone, can we pause for a moment?" he said, his voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of stress. The room fell silent, eyes darting between the two of them. The spotlight felt unbearably hot, and Sarah's palms grew clammy. "Sarah," Amir began, taking a breath that seemed heavy with unspoken thoughts. "Just give me a second to gather my thoughts here." The way he shifted his gaze away felt wrong, filled with too many layers wrapped in that one simple action. She felt the room's skepticism hyper-focus on her, every gaze a question, every silence dripping with doubt. Was Amir's concern about the business or about something else entirely? A deep pit formed in her stomach. "What is going on?" she asked, striving to keep her voice steady. "What did the message say?" He shook his head slightly, as if trying to dispel the gravity of the moment. "It's about another opportunity. Something that could jeopardize the partnership we're discussing here." Her breath hitched. "What do you mean?" However, before he could respond, the sharp-glassed man piped in again, frustration spilling over. "Come on, Amir. Let us not keep everyone in suspense. If there is something we need to know, it's best to get it out now. This is a business meeting, after all." Amir's jaw tightened, and the tension between them grew palpable. She felt it press against her chest. She could see Amir wrestling with something, probably the very dilemma she feared. Did he trust her enough to share this revelation? "Look," Sarah said, drawing courage from some deep well inside her. "Whatever it is, I can handle it. I didn't come this far to back down now. If something is on the table, let us deal with it." There was silence as Amir's gaze locked onto hers. For a fleeting second, they were lost in each other's eyes, a world of understanding passing between them. He seemed to weigh her words against whatever struggle lay in front of him. Then, he nodded, a tiny movement that wasn't just his response, but rather a silent pledge. "It's a rival company looking to buy up smaller businesses in the area. They want to turn your cafe into a chain outlet." His voice dropped as he spoke the next words, "and they're making an attractive offer." Shockwaves hit Sarah. In that moment, her dreams felt as fragile as glass, ready to shatter if she wasn't careful. Images of her cafe disappearing under the weight of corporate greed flashed through her mind. Do you think I should take the offer? Compromise? She asked, though she could hardly muster the words. No, Amir said, his voice bursting with urgency. We have something special here. A community connection that's rare and valuable. But he paused, swallowing hard like he had just tasted something bitter. We need a plan. Fast. Sarah gripped the edge of the table, mind racing. She couldn't just let someone else dictate her fate. But what could they do in such short order? Would Amir stand with her against the tide of corporate ambition? Determination surged within her like a lifeline. We will fight for this, she said, feeling a flame reignite in her belly. But I need you with me, Amir. Are you ready to stand together? Amir's brow furrowed, the weight of the world etched across his face. Together he echoed slowly, as if trying to convince himself more than her. The unspoken threat loomed, and Sarah's heart thrummed in anticipation. This was no longer just about a cafe. It would be a fight for their vision, their ideals, and ultimately, their future. But would they be strong enough to weather the storm approaching with relentless force? The stakes had never been higher, and now they had to decide where to draw the line. What if, in fighting for this little dream someone else saw as a mere target, they unlocked something much bigger than themselves? The tension in the room transformed into electricity, crackling in the air around them as if it was urging them to act. Sarah could feel her heart racing, a constant drumbeat underscoring her thoughts. She looked around the table. Every face mirrored her uncertainty, but Amir's gaze remained fixed on her, intense and unwavering. Okay, we have to act, she said, the determination sharpening her voice. We need to brainstorm ways to counter this offer. We can't let our hard work slip through our fingers. Amir nodded, his brow still furrowed, but she saw a flicker of something brighter in his eyes, hope, or perhaps a kindling of resolve. Right, but let us not just react blindly. We need to know our enemy. Enemy? A voice piped up from the corner of the table. It was Claudia, the marketing manager, her eyebrows raised. Do you really think they'll just walk away when we say no? They'll push back. We need to know what makes the cafe special, Amir continued. The community we've built, the relationships. We leverage that. Sarah felt her face warm. Did he just tie his strengths to hers? Exactly. We can start a campaign. Go social. Get our regulars to share their stories. This is about more than just business. It's about family. The room buzzed. Fingers tapped against phones, glances shuffled between colleagues, and slowly, people began to engage. Sarah felt a swell of pride as she watched Amir take control, every bit of his charisma filling the void of fear. The meeting evolved into a flurry of action, ideas pouring out like water breaking through a dam. She began to sketch a plan on the notepad in front of her. We'll need incentives. Maybe a loyalty program? Give them a reason to choose us over a corporate clone. Yes, Amir exclaimed, excitement coursing through him. What about local events? Contests or shows right in the cafe itself? Let us capitalize on community participation. Claudia contributed, and get local influencers involved. They can amplify our message. We have friends in local media who might cover our fight. As they spoke, Sarah felt hope blooming inside her. They were forging a path forward, creating a game plan etched with passion and connection. They had each other's backs, which meant everything. Amir leaned closer, his voice low yet fierce. We can't just prepare for their attack. We have to go on the offensive. Let's show them what they're up against. The energy in the room surged, sparked by a shared vision and determination. They huddled together, poring over strategies, tackling every angle with zeal. Laughter broke out amidst the seriousness, hearts lifting as they envisioned their cafe bustling with life, the community rising around them like a phoenix. But as the meeting wore on, fatigue began to creep in. Sarah's mind raced. Questions pressed heavily against her. What if their plans weren't enough? What if they failed? Just then, Amir caught her gaze, a question hanging on his lips. Are you sure about this, Sarah? We could face a lot of resistance. She felt the vulnerability in his voice, the honest plea beneath his confidence. If we stay true to ourselves and our community, we'll never really fail, she replied, meeting his intensity with equal fervor. Yes, he said, nodding, though his expression was still shadowed with doubt. But if we win, it changes everything. Are you ready for that? Sarah paused, the weight of his words sinking in. Their journey was no longer just about saving a cafe, but transforming their lives in ways they hadn't even begun to imagine. Would they be prepared for the consequences of success? They stood on the brink of something monumental, but would their resolve hold firm when the waves crashed down upon them? As the meeting adjourned, Sarah felt a shiver of anticipation. This was not just a fight for survival. It was a step toward destiny. Was she ready for its embrace? The moment of truth loomed ahead, and with it, the chance to rewrite their futures. Would they walk into the storm hand in hand, brave against the tide, or would fear pull them apart? The sun set low, casting a warm golden hue over the cafe as the team began to disperse. Sarah lingered behind, her mind swirling with ideas and worries. She stared at the hastily scrawled notes on her pad, the ink running slightly where she had pressed too hard, reflecting the pressure she felt. "Hey, you okay?" Amir appeared beside her, crossing his arms and leaning against the table. His presence felt steadying, like an anchor amidst her turbulent thoughts. "Just thinking about everything we need to do," Sarah admitted, forcing a smile. "It feels like a lot." "It is," he acknowledged, a sympathetic look in his eyes. "But we can handle it. Together." She was struck by the sincerity in his tone. There was a raw honesty in Amir that she found comforting. Whenever doubt crept in, he seemed to light a path through it. "What is the biggest worry on your mind?" he asked, his voice a soft prompt. "I guess I'm just afraid we'll disappoint everyone," she confessed. "Our regulars. The community. They believe in us." "You won't disappoint them, Sarah," Amir replied, his conviction ringing true. "You've already given so much to this place. They'll feel our passion when we fight back." Across the cafe, the clinking of cups and chatter filled the space, a comforting backdrop to their serious discussion. Sarah watched as a few familiar faces entered, laughter spilling through the door, infusing the air with warmth and familiarity. Each person who passed was a reminder of what her cafe meant, what they stood to lose. "They're not just customers," she said slowly, absorbing the scene. "They're friends. I can't let that bond break." "That's it," Amir said, his excitement blooming. "This isn't just about business. It's about something deeper. You care about them, and they care about you." The words hung in the air, electrifying the space. He was right. Their fight wasn't just for survival, but for connection. As she glanced at him, Sarah felt something shift within her. The fire inside sparked a little brighter. "We could create a video series," she suggested suddenly, her enthusiasm returning. "Share stories of how each regular has impacted the cafe. Testimonials of loyalty and love." Amir grinned, his eyes lighting up. "Yes, highlighting that community will make it tough for anyone to come in and take that away." They dove back into the planning, the camaraderie infectious as new ideas flowed effortlessly. But just as the mood lightened, the door flung open with heavy force. A tall figure rushed inside, face flushed and eyes wide with urgency. It was Ethan, the barista with a talent for reading both coffee and people. "Sir, Amir," he gasped, his breath hitching. "You need to see this. The email, it just came through." A cold knot began to form in Sarah's stomach. She exchanged a worried glance with Amir. "What email?" she asked, a sense of dread creeping in. "The corporate offer. They're not just going to wait for us to respond. They want an answer now." Her heart sank. Fear was a familiar companion, but this felt different. What if they said yes? Did they even have a choice? She felt dizzy, the weight of the moment pressing in. Amir stepped forward, a protectiveness enveloping his stance as he looked at Ethan. "What is the timeline? We need space to strategize." Ethan shuffled his feet, looking anxious. "They want a decision by the end of the week." The earnestness in Amir's expression softened the tension in the room. "Then we'll make every hour count." Sarah could feel it, the stakes had just been raised. A culmination of fear and excitement bubbled in her chest. But would they have enough time to gather their strength and push through? As her mind raced, the reality of their mission hung before them, daunting yet invigorating. The clock was ticking down with a sense of urgency, and the fight was far from over. Would they rise to the challenge when it mattered most, or would the pressure break them before they could even begin to shine? The cafe buzzed with an energy that felt both electric and heavy all at once. Sarah's heart raced, each beat echoing the urgency of their situation. She could feel the walls closing in, yet the warmth from the familiar faces around her also fortified her resolve. It was unnerving how quickly everything had shifted, how the fight for their beloved cafe was rapidly becoming not just a mission, but a race against time. Ethan turned to them, his eyes darting between Sarah and Amir. "What is the plan?" he asked, his voice shaking slightly. Amir straightened, his usual calm demeanor now infused with intensity. "We brainstorm together. We gather stories from our customers and showcase what this cafe means to everyone. Let us make it personal," Sarah chimed in, a spark of determination flaring up inside. "We need to show them that this isn't just a business. It's a home." Ethan nodded, a flicker of hope igniting his expression. "I can reach out to the regulars. Get them to share their experiences." "Perfect," Amir exclaimed. "We'll film short clips, gather testimonials. The deeper we dig into community, the harder it'll be for them to walk away with our hearts." The trio launched into a whirlwind of planning. Phone calls, messages, filming schedules, everything came together in an exhilarating flurry. As Sarah jotted down ideas, her worries began to fade into the background, replaced by a fiery, hopeful energy. Amidst the chaos, it was clear they were in this together, and for the first time since the offer arrived, she felt they might just have a fighting chance. Outside the cafe, twilight deepened, the streetlights casting a soft glow over the crammed space where lives intertwined. The memories flooded her mind: birthday celebrations, late-night study sessions, the first time a couple met over their espresso. These moments were all woven into the very fabric of the cafe. Hours blurred into each other as ideas flowed and laughter echoed. Then suddenly, Amir brought a sticky note to Sarah, his brow creased with thought. "What if we share the setbacks too? The challenges? People connect through authenticity." She paused, her thoughts swirling again. "You mean like how we all face tough times?" "Yes. It's real. It's relatable," Amir insisted, his passion palpable. "People love a comeback story. Let us show them we're not afraid to show our flaws." Sarah nodded, her heart swelling. Owning our truth, it could be our strength. As the night grew deeper, excitement pumped through their veins. They wrapped up the filming plan and ambient shots of the cafe. Everything seemed to align, and yet, the lingering thread of the corporate offer hung like a dark cloud. Ethan glanced at Sarah, worry etching his features. "You really think they'll listen? That this will make a difference?" With newfound confidence, Sarah looked him in the eye. "I believe in us, in what we stand for. It's more than just coffee, it's about community." But just as the mood lifted, Amir's phone buzzed, the sound slicing through the hopeful atmosphere. He glanced at his screen, and his face fell. It's the corporate team. They want a meeting in the morning." A silence enveloped them, heavy and daunting. The room seemed to shrink around them, the reality of their impending confrontation crashing back like a wave. Sarah's heart sank with the weight of it. They had so much to say, so much to prove. But as one obstacle loomed, another moment of hope emerged. Would they find a way to turn the tides in their favor? As the weight of the situation pressed down, she knew one thing. The meeting was now more than just a corporate discussion. It was a chance to unleash the narrative of their cafe's heartbeat. Could they shift the tide, or would they find themselves at a crossroads, where dreams hung in the balance? Dawn broke with a soft light filtering through the cafe windows, spilling over the tables and chairs that had been witnesses to countless stories. Sarah paced back and forth, anxiety simmering in her stomach. The meeting loomed just hours away, and she couldn't shake the feeling that this was their moment, a pivot point that could forever change their lives. Ethan arrived early, his hands full of fresh pastries from the bakery down the street. "Morning." He tried to sound cheerful, though his eyes betrayed the same worry etched into Sarah's mind. He set the pastries on the counter, the sweet scent infusing the cafe with a sense of comfort. "Thanks, Ethan. We'll need all the energy we can get," she replied, forcing a smile while her heart raced. Amir walked in next, his expression serious. "Let us go over the plan once more," he said, his voice steady. They gathered in a small circle, determination shaping their postures. "We showcase the heart of this cafe. We tell our stories, but also the stories of our customers. It's about connection," Sarah emphasized, her voice growing stronger with every word. "We show them what they will be losing if they take this from us." Ethan nodded, visibly lifting with her spirit. "And we emphasize our community roots. We share what makes this place a second home for so many." Amir added, "And the truth matters. Our struggles, our fights, all of it connects people to us. As the sun climbed, their collective resolve blossomed. This cafe was not merely a place to grab a cup of coffee. It was a canvas painted with laughter, pain, love, and triumph. As they practiced their pitches and honed their points, the warm energy of their shared mission brightened the mood. Minutes turned into an hour, and soon it was time to leave. Sarah looked back at the cafe, taking in the faded wall art, the worn wooden floor, and the aroma that felt like home. "Let us do this," she said, and they stepped out into the bustling street. With each step toward their destination, the weight of their purpose weighed heavier, yet it was also liberating. They arrived at the corporate building, a sleek structure of glass and steel that towered above them. The stark contrast unsettled Sarah, who took a deep breath to gather her courage, her heart pounding loudly in her chest. Inside, the air was tense. She glanced at Ethan, who swallowed hard, then Amir, who held a confident demeanor. They filed into the conference room, a long table dominating the space and polished to a reflective shine. The corporate team sat across from them, faces unreadable, arms crossed. "Thank you for coming," the lead executive began, his tone cool. "We know you've had some challenges." This was the moment Sarah had prepared for. Her heart raced, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "We want to share the real story of our cafe and why it matters." Just as she began sharing her thoughts, a flicker of disbelief crossed the executives' faces. They were not ready for what Sarah was about to unleash, her voice steady, yet filled with the raw pulse of her emotion. She poured out the tales of their regulars, the students studying late into the night, the families gathering for birthdays, but a sudden interruption shattered her momentum. The lead executive's phone rang, an urgent tone cutting through the air, causing Sarah's gut to clench tightly. His face darkened as he glanced at the screen. "Excuse me," he said, rising abruptly and leaving the room. A chilling uncertainty filled the air. Sarah exchanged glances with Ethan and Amir, confusion and concern flickering in their eyes. They had rehearsed for this, but it felt like everything was slipping away. "Sarah," Ethan whispered, his brows furrowed. As Sarah turned back to the remaining executives, she knew they had to hold on to the momentum they built and breathe life into it again. What would they think? What would happen next? Her heart thundered as she prepared for another push. But could they stay grounded and ignite the spark once more, or would external pressures extinguish their light? The lingering question echoed within. Sarah, would their fight be enough when it mattered most? As the minutes dragged on, Sarah felt her patience wearing thin. She peered out the glass window, the vibrant city swirling outside, life bustling on, oblivious to the storm brewing in this room. Amir leaned forward slightly, his gaze fixed on her, silently urging her to continue. The door swung back open, the lead executive returning, an unreadable expression shadowing his face. "I apologize for the interruption. Let us resume," he said, regaining control of the room. Sarah swallowed hard, rallying the courage she built alongside Amir and Ethan. "Thank you," she began, her voice steadying. "As I was saying, our cafe isn't merely a business, it's a home. A tapestry woven with stories, a refuge for students, families, and friends. They don't just come for coffee, they come for connection." She painted vibrant pictures with her words, the laughter shared over a steaming cup, the quiet moments of reflection, the blossoming friendships, each telling of the warmth that radiated from Café Pilsen. "If you take this from us, you're stripping the community of its heartbeat," she concluded, feeling the weight of each syllable. The room remained silent, the executives exchanging guarded looks. Then one of them, a woman with piercing blue eyes, shifted forward. "What specifically are you proposing to enhance your competitive edge?" she asked, her voice crisp. Sarah's heart raced, but determination ignited anew. "We'd like to launch a multimedia campaign that highlights the voices of our community. Share their stories, not just the cafe's." She leaned in, her intensity breaking through the formal barriers of the boardroom. "We need to show everyone what really matters, the connections that can't be replicated." Amir nodded, stepping in with confidence. "We have a plan to rally community support, leverage local influencers, and host events that invite everyone back to see what makes this place special." The executives listened, their expressions shifting. She could sense their skepticism beginning to crack. Then they fired more questions, each one deepening the dialogue, drawing out the fight that lay within Sarah and her team. Every thoughtful response began to chip away their earlier doubts. She felt the tide of the conversation starting to turn, but just as the atmosphere lightened, the lead executive glanced at his watch. "We appreciate your vision, but we need time to consider all options, including the offer on the table." A chill settled over Sarah. "Time? You mean time for a corporate takeover?" she questioned, her voice taut with urgency. "You'll be leaving us to fight a battle we can't win." The realization stung like a bitter chill. She leaned forward, holding their gaze. "But if you are willing to partner with us, I promise you that the investment in our community will yield returns far beyond mere profits." Silence enveloped the room. Sarah's heart pounded against her chest, a deafening drumbeat urging their acceptance. At that moment, Amir shifted beside her, an electric current of support flowing between them. He turned to the room, his stature strong and authoritative. "If you want to see what true connection looks like, let us not write off that community bond. Allow us to show you this cafe as a sustainable model while preserving the essence that the people cherish." Finally, the cold tension began thawing, a hint of fascination breaking through their austere facades. Sarah dared to hope as the executives began murmuring among themselves, contemplating the potential for growth that was rooted in genuine connection rather than detached capitalism. When they concluded, a new energy simmered on the surface. The lead executive leaned in, resting his elbows on the table. "Let us put a plan together. We need to explore this concept further, see how we can align our goals." The utterance felt like a lifeline thrown in murky waters. Sarah's heart soared, catching the glow of hope reflected in her companion's eyes. This could be their turning point. The meeting wound down, and as they walked out into the sun-drenched world outside, she felt a buoyant release. They'd taken the first leap into transforming not just their futures, but the entire community's path. "Can you believe it?" Ethan exclaimed, bursting with excitement. "It's just the beginning," Amir replied, his vibrant smile illuminating the air around them. "If we stay true to our vision, we can build a legacy." And that was it. Mixed emotions coursed through Sarah. From uncertainty, they birthed a vision. From fear, they uncovered strength. In the coming days, they rallied support, their stories echoing across the community as they crafted a collective uprising, a tapestry of hope, resilience, and determination. As words spread and support flourished, Café Pilsen became more than a cafe. It evolved into a lifeline, a hub of shared dreams. And Sarah, once juggling dreams amid personal challenges, now stood poised as a formidable advocate for her dreams and her community. Life transformed, much like Amir, no longer just a billionaire, but a partner spirit driven by the bonds they forged. And so, under the warm glow of the cafe lights, with laughter surrounding them, Sarah understood that this was a journey of purpose she was destined to continue. Hand in hand with the community that had become family, they had faced the storm and emerged not just unbroken, but emboldened. This was their story, a testament to the unwavering spirit of those who dared to dream together. Now more than ever, it was clear, real power lay not solely in wealth, but in the richness of human connection. And as they turned towards the horizon, joy swelling in their hearts, they stood ready for whatever adventure awaited next. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait, not even one more second to share.